Hello and welcome. I am Sylvia Hartmann, the creator of Modern Energy, and today we're going to talk about charisma. What charisma is, where it came from, and importantly, how we get to have more of it, each and every one of us. I came across this topic when I was looking up the word root of ecstasy. And it turns out that the old Greeks in ancient Greece, they used to identify ecstasy as a special state of being where a godly force enters into a person and they are in this state of ecstasy. Now, the fun thing that derives from that is that when these godly force, in Christianity, that would be the Holy Spirit, enters into this person, and they are then in this state of ecstasy, that they are given special gifts from this union with the divine, shall we say. And these gifts were called Charis. Charis means grace. And so when this person would then come out of the state of ecstasy, they would bring with them gifts, and these gifts were the charisma. And I was looking at this definition, this explanation, and I thought to myself, that's kind of what happened to me. I had a major enlightenment experience in 1993. And when I came back, I brought a gift with me, a Charis. I brought with me essentially what now is the modern energy chart, which explains how people work, essentially, and how their emotional states, their behavior, their language, everything is related to their underlying energy states. That we have a real living energy body that produces all of our emotions. And like many other people who have had the similar experience of entering into this expanded state of awareness and understanding things from that expanded point of view that you would never have seen if you hadn't entered into this expanded point of awareness, well, I brought back the gifts to give to other people. And that is a hugely important part of that whole process of expanded awareness, understanding something. These understandings are gifts. They are a grace, if you will. And you bring them back and you share them with other people. And when you do that, then you become what's called a charismatic leader. And that is a term that is, of course, in modern civilization, in Western culture, terribly, it's an insult if somebody calls you a charismatic leader, because you have been somewhere and understood something and you brought it back. Now, this may all sound terribly spiritual and religious, but it's actually not. It's normal, natural, and structural to human beings. And it makes the difference between the plus 7, 8 high energy states, where you're the king of the world. And it's a question people often ask, what is the difference between the golden sunshine man at +8 and the guy who holds the trophy at +10? And that's the difference, because plus 10 is this state of ecstasy that the Greeks have described, that were present in medieval literature. And so people just do that. And it's not as unusual as you think it is. This is not at all relegated just to the odd prophet every 1,000 years or so. Every person has their own plus 10 star events in their life. Every person has experienced these amazing moments of love or connectedness or just expansion of enlightenment. And they brought back from these enlightenment experience important messages. For example, I'm thinking of a gentleman I interviewed who was the survivor of a plane crash. And in his last moments, when the life flashed before his eyes, he understood that love is the most important thing in the universe. And you've seen that and heard that on a billion memes, and it may sound just like garbage chatter. But when you have this experience of it, you understand how real that is. And so when he came back from that experience, he survived, he got out of hospital, he went back to his family, and he brought that gift, that Charis, with him. And he told his children he loved them. He changed the way he behaved towards his relatives, his work colleagues, bringing that gift into the life of these other people. And that is how that works. Every person who's had a huge star event, a plus 10 event, will bring back gifts that they then will try and pass on to others. It's just a human thing, and it is much, much more common, much more natural, much more simple than all the other sort of crazy mysticism things of the past, because they just didn't understand how that works, how people go up and down on the energy chart. And if they are high enough, then all of a sudden they connect. They connect with the divine, as the Greeks would call it, or they feel connected with the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Spirit enters into them. That would be the Christian way of describing that. It just happens that you connect to a greater reality where you understand more, and then when you come back, you bring these gifts with you, these charis, these charismas, and you try and give them to other people best you can. I have done my very best I can to bring back the modern energy chart and to explain that in such a way that people understand it, because it is really super important to know that you don't have charisma or you don't have charisma, even in the Western modern definition, that there's something special about you, an X factor, this inexplicable something that completely transcends your gender, your race, your age, your beauty, your physical performances, completely transcends that. There's just this something special about a person that is extremely attractive. And in that, in and of itself, the fact that it is attractive shows us that we're going in the right direction to wanting to know more about this charisma, about being charismatic and being a charismatic leader to your family, to your friends, to, society at large, in whatever it is that you're doing. So it's not a question of being charismatic or not being charismatic. It is a question of how energy high you are. The energy higher you are, the more charismatic you become. A directly measurable cause and effect. The more attractive you become, the more interesting you become. And we can all do that. We can all raise our energy levels and make an effort. Make an effort to not crawl around and be satisfied with these miserable low energy states around -3 and -4, where we're always stressed and worried and always firefighting, rather than actually going forward and creating reality, doing something proactive for a change, something that will make a difference, no matter how small a positive difference this may be. So this is my message as the charismatic leader of the GOE, who has had an enlightenment experience, who has brought back the charisma, the gift of the modern energy chart, which is so simple and yet at the same time so powerful to save our stuck incarnations, our stuck self-concepts, to, think of ourselves as being, forsaken or average or anything, or that human beings are bad. They're not. They've been stressed beyond breaking point and never really knew how to get out of it. Modern energy chart can be painted on a cave wall, and any survivor will be able to find that even 10,000 years later, as long as there are human beings. The modern energy chart will make sense to them. And not just make sense and explain what's been going wrong, but to give us a way forward, a simple way forward for every single person in their own way to move towards higher energy levels, to do something when we get too stressed, and to raise our energy average over time. And the higher our energy average becomes, the more attractive we become to other people, the easier life becomes in general. But also, the closer we are becoming to the real enlightenment states at +10, the easier they are to achieve. When you are already fairly energy high, it isn't that hard to just take those extra couple of leaps up and then re-enter. This is so important because you've been there before. Re-enter this state of union with the great creative order, where all of a sudden everything makes sense, you're feeling at home, you know everything's going to be all right. It's just so beyond words. It's glorious. And the thing is that you've been there. You have had those moments. They are your star moments of your life, your star memories. And they may have had nothing to do with religion. They may have happened when you flew a kite as a child, or when you were standing watch on a ship in the Arctic and saw the northern lights play in the sky, or when you looked down at your newborn baby in your arms. And that moment of grace arrived, that moment of real ecstasy. And from that moment you brought back these gifts, these charisma, that you then have the urge to tell other people about. And that is right, and that is true. There is nothing remotely unnatural or unhelpful about it. And what we need to do in order to connect with that, connect with the truth of who we human beings really are, we have to enact and engage with Star Matrix. To actively, consciously, now, before we're dying, before the last 5 seconds of our lives are over, to go and to access those star memories. And that just simply means perhaps sitting on a garden bench and just remembering the best moments of your life. Because in those best moments of your life, you were given to these gifts, these graces, these charismas, you too are charismatic. You too, and I don't care who you are and how long you've identified as a victim, you too have touched these states of being where you were at one with the great creative order. And only in those states of being does it become apparent what it means to be a real human being in this living universe. So there we have it. Oscar Wilde used to say, there's no good or bad people. They're either tedious or they are charming. And I kind of agree with that. So in that sense, wouldn't it be lovely if we had more people in higher energy states, being truly themselves, being delightful, giving us the gifts that they brought back from their union with the great creative order, and for us to receive them with joy and with delight. The time for the old trauma-riddled victimhood must now come to an end. And Star Matrix is the way. Star Matrix is free of religion. It is free of anything. It is your memories, your star memories, your moments of ecstasy. And to really truly appreciate the gifts, the charisma you were given in those moments. And that's what life is all about. So I hope you enjoyed my brief journey through charisma. And you'll forgive me for being a charismatic leader. I still have to work a little on that word. But it is what I am, it is what's happened. It is normal, it's human, it's natural. And here we are. Let's try and keep as stress-free as possible, as high energy as possible, and continue to develop new, easy, natural, humane ways to make us energy higher. And that simply means to make us and everyone else we know happier. Thank you so much for listening. Well done for coming all the way to the end. And if you love what I do, please support me in my mission to make the world a happier, more logical and more loving place by joining the GOE. It's only a few pence a day, and it would make such a difference to my work and everything that I do. With lots of loves and bright, sparkly blessings, stay high and let your charisma sparkle. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video.